Investigative journalist Kimberly Dvorak. Kim, what happened in Istanbul should be not only a wake-up call to that region of the world, Europe, but also the United States. It is clear we keep doing the same thing and expecting some sort of different result. My opinion is we've got to go to some kind of Israeli-style security at airports and other important areas. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting ducks. We've got to make some sort of changes. Otherwise, we're defining the term insanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spoken with a few of my aviation sources on this, and they've said that in Los Angeles that they have started working on kind of clearing facilities that they will carry. You'll go through the security measures outside the airport, away from the airport, and then they'll bring you in on buses. And then you don't. That takes away from cars and taxis and whatnot needing to be at the actual airport, because you'll be taken to a facility off the airport, and they can control security a lot more that way. Yep. I think over this long weekend you are going to see additional security, and people are already beginning to see that.
And in the end, we are the last line of defense. And thank God that we have the Second Amendment. And thank God that we have the Constitution backing that Second Amendment, because the bottom line is, I think in the end, we're going to have to deploy that too many times before we actually win this war against terror. Now, speaking of terror, the Benghazi report.
Yes.
It is clear to me, God bless these congressional investigators, God bless Trey Gowdy. But it's like Swiss cheese. There are huge holes. You can drive a truck through some of these holes in the 800 pages in the 2-year investigation. And that's because of this administration. Clearly, this is the byproduct, if you will, of a White House cover-up to a huge scandal.
Well, I think we can attribute definitely a lot of political misdirection in this report. I think that what most people, not everybody's going to read the 800-page report. And if you look at the basic takeaways from the report as it's been written here, the main question still has not been answered, and that's why. Why was the United States in Benghazi? And we know that there was a CIA annex there, a very big CIA annex there. So obviously we were there for a reason, and this administration continued to stonewall even the Gowdy investigation into this. And they continued to stonewall reporters looking at, what was going on in Benghazi that was so important that we had to stay there. And they just decided that they would run with the political misdirection.
Right.
And this is what we have to take away from the report.
I want to tackle that in just a moment. But first I want to dig down a little bit into the report. They had some questions at the end of the report for the President of the United States. They'll never get answers.
No.
But these are the questions. The first couple deal with the timeline of how the terrorist attack took place. Number one, this is for the President. Number one, when did you first learn a U.S. facility in Benghazi, Libya had been attacked? What were you told and by whom? Were you informed Sean Smith had been killed during the initial attack? Number two, when did you learn Ambassador Christopher Stevens was missing, and who informed you? Were you kept informed on efforts to locate Ambassador Stevens, and if so, by whom? When did you learn Ambassador Stevens was dead, and who informed you? This goes to the bare-knuckle duties of the President of the United States. And you know what, Kim? All the President cared about on that night was going to Las Vegas for a rally, so in the end he could get reelected.
Absolutely. I think that this event did happen 2 months prior to his reelection bid. And I think, too, that, if there were pretty pictures for the media to take away, like there were for the Osama bin Laden raid, with everybody sitting in the Situation Room watching this real time. You have to remember that during the Benghazi events, after the first attack against the special mission, there was a drone flying above. They were getting a live feed. People knew what was going on the ground, and the President had to have known. But had they have taken this completely seriously, or did they take this where they were like, oh my gosh, we could get in a lot of trouble because maybe we were doing something in Benghazi we shouldn't have been doing?
Yep. So, and the questions continue. for the president. Again, we'll never get the answers to these. A couple more, they have to do with the cover-up. And the cover-up, I'm talking about, of course, the phony excuse of the video. Number 3, what specifically connected the attacks in Benghazi to this anti-Muslim video? And why weren't these efforts made after the protests in Cairo, Egypt? Number 4, when did you learn individuals associated with the terrorist organizations participated in the attack on the U.S. facilities in Benghazi, Libya? Again, we know now through Hillary Clinton's own testimony that she knew and the administration knew within hours, probably minutes, that this wasn't because of some protest over a video. This was a terrorist attack, and they knew it.
In fact, yes, they absolutely knew this from the get-go. And there were also several reports, and when the intelligence community is listening to chatter and what's going on out there were several indications that there was going to be a direct attack at the U.S. special mission there in Benghazi. So they were warned that there was an attack, and an imminent attack coming. And I don't know why they would drop the ball here on a September 11th date. We know Al-Qaeda always loves to hit dates, and It was a significant date.
I know why, because they were focused on getting Obama back into the White House and winning the 2012 election. Let's go to question number 5, and it has to do with, again, presidential duties, but this kind of in a different context. Question number 5, did you receive the president's daily brief, the PBD, on September 12th, 2012, and September 13th, 2012? If so, who provided the PBD? Now, this is important. It's an interesting question after the attacks, but from what we have learned is the president skipped multiple daily briefings, intelligence briefings, leading up to September 11, 2012, and we know for a fact that he did not get briefed on September 11th itself and the day before on September 12th because he was too busy getting reelected.
Yeah, well, that's also true. It's been noted that he's missed approximately 40 to 50% of the actual briefings, and this is a briefing that, for those who don't understand this, that generals and CIA officials and deputies all come in and they brief the president and they tell him what the high alert items are for the day, and he can look at them, talk to them, ask them questions. But the president. President Obama decided he thought it was much more advantageous for him just to take it on his iPad, and he could look at it, read through it. But you can't ask an iPad questions, and You can't ask that. So I think that that shows that he didn't necessarily take this either seriously, or he put this completely in the hands of the Defense Department secretary, which would be Leon Panetta, Hillary Clinton at State, and his CIA Director General Petraeus. So that clearly he let them run the show by not having them come in and brief him.
But that's not what he's supposed to be doing.
No, that's not what
any of those people you just mentioned will tell you that there's nothing that can replace a face-to-face conversation about what's going around the world.
Exactly.
And September 11th, of course, is an important date in our history. It's an infamous date, but it's an important one. Now, back to the original question, the rhetorical one, I believe, that you asked, why the United States in Benghazi? It's a two-part answer, is it not? Number one, this was a point of the spear, if you will, of sending arms to the so-called rebels/terrorists in Syria to try and overthrow Bashar al-Assad. They were sending them through Turkey, number one. And number two, you've discovered also through your work a link to the Clinton Foundation, that the Clintons had interest in Benghazi.
Yeah, well, they had not necessarily just Benghazi, but all of Libya. The Clinton Foundation, through the emails that have been released and with their cohort, Sidney Blumenthal, they were looking to do business. They wanted Libya to be their next Haiti. This would be the place where everybody funneled their money to a foundation, and then the Clintons would be able to dole out oil contracts, other mineral contracts, doing business in Libya. You have to remember, Libya is a secular country, so it operates a lot like Syria used to operate as well, where you could do business. Things were westernized. It was a very important, they have ports that, it make it easy to get goods and services to Europe and the Middle East. And so it's always been important for the United States to be there. We've always, kept some sort of consulate or, embassies in Tripoli. It's always been very important for us. So the Clintons saw this. They saw this as a money-making thing for them. So that's the one aspect that's being discovered, but also the weapons movement. I mean, we know that there are 30,000 plus MANPADs, and those are the shoulder fire missiles that can take down commercial airliners. Those all went missing after Gaddafi fell. And then you have the irony of all this, I guess, for the United States to take away from this. In the end, when we needed to be rescued and get out of Benghazi altogether, it was Gaddafi's loyal forces, Gaddafi's people, that saved the Americans. It wasn't the militias that they hired to protect them.
And that's what Trey Gowdy was alluding to, that the mainstream media had never asked the question, how did the survivors get evacuated? Well, that's the answer. This is a scandal of the highest order, unprecedented levels down the Obama government and our United States government under Obama's control. And unfortunately, he's going to get away with this scandal because, first of all, his administration is corrupt, and secondly, we have an impotent United States Congress. And unfortunately, we're never going to get any accountability here for the 4 victims of Benghazi and for the American people. Kim, thank you, and thank you for your hard work. Coming up next.